everybody. So if like me, you've got a garden and you've got cats, sometimes the two things don't get along so great. Now, I did a video a while back about some basics to make your lives a little easier, but I have done some upgrades since then that I thought I would share with you all. Like I said in the other one, if you are looking for ways to keep your cats out of the garden or keep other cats out of your garden, this isn't for you. We're also not looking to harm them in any way, just trying to get the dynamics improved a little bit. Every morning when the irrigation comes on, the cats come running out in the garden to drink from the emitters. And in the process, they stomp all over some sometimes delicate plants. So I decided to give them their own irrigation emitter to drink from in a place where they can't mash the plants. I chose the end of this bed because I don't really have anything growing in this area and the edge has a pretty good size overhang. Plus I already have a dripper there that I'm not using. I don't want a gush of water, just a drip, so I'm going to raid the irrigation box, or what's left of it, to try and find a good size emitter for this project. I think this is a half-gallon dripper I'll try out. I'm just going to run the tubing up through this trim piece. To keep the tube from flopping down, I braced it against this bed with a piece of a D-ring thing. Actually, a little cable nylon thing would probably work just perfectly, but we're all out of those. Now I just need to connect the new tubing to the old tubing. If they're too tough to connect, you can always just run a lighter over the end of the tubing and that'll soften it up, but this was fine. Now run a little test, and we don't have water. I suspect there is not enough pressure happening, and so I think that either the inline emitter up the line is clogged up, or the soaker hose that is teed off is drawing too much water. So I am going to remove both of those things. I think we could use a little more flow, so I'm going to replace this with an adjustable emitter. Sometimes they like to drink from pooled water, so I'm going to add a little bowl to catch the drips. And I'm going to tip it slightly so that the excess goes right into the garden bed. I'll spare you all the vibration that comes next, but I will say, if I'd planned better, I would have put that emitter a little farther away from the back wall to give room for the jigsaw body to get in there, because I had a heck of a time. But I got it in there eventually. in all, I think that was a successful solution for drinking. Now let's talk about what comes out of the other end. In my last video, I suggested making an outdoor cat box, and I thought about doing it myself, and I went ahead and did it for around Christmas time. Cat's got an outdoor litter box. I just used some scrap lumber and some play sand. I think it took one bag to fill it up all the way. They're definitely using it. I just go out there once a week with a little rake and scoop it out. Since it's not clumping, it kind of falls apart, but since it's out here, it doesn't really matter so much. Unfortunately, they also still like to go around it, but like I said, this is a side yard area that nobody goes to, so it's not a huge deal. One thing I would do differently is not put it directly under the roof line, because when it rains, it pours right in there, and there's all sorts of like roof gravel in there. Now, despite offering some great alternatives to go into, some cats, Roscoe, can't seem to resist this narrow walkway that I put in the center of my garden. I thought it would be so pretty, but he seems to think it is a perfect litter box shape. So I've had to put all of this junk in here to keep him out, and it is dangerous and ugly, so I am going to do something better. First thing I need to do is remove all that junk and rake up that stinky old mulch and throw it away. Next, I've got to see what I've got in the scrap lumber pile. I want to build a boardwalk of sorts, but all I have are these really short little pieces. But if I add some spacers and maybe some rails to fill in, it'll fit in there. I actually don't want it all the way across or attached to the beds, because I want to be able to pick it up and get under there to do weeding or whatever. 2x4s aren't quite long enough, so I'm going to have to piece them together with some other bits. And I also have all this hardware that I salvaged from the compost bin I took apart. I added a couple little supports along the middle, and now it is really sturdy. I just tacked on the slats with the brad nailer, trying to pay attention to how far apart they're spaced, but their length is variable, so you'll see that it kind of zigzags along, but it doesn't really matter. Just to reduce the chances of rolling an ankle, I included these slender pieces along the sides to kind of level things out. I left this space open at the end to put in a worm tower. I wanted this whole center walkway to be a space to trap moisture and as the mulch decays, to feed the worms, but since that's not going to happen anymore, I want to give them their own little feeding tube. I'm going to have it under a trap door, so I'm just going to cut this piece of scrap plywood to the right size. Now I just have to dig a hole here and put in a tube. I'm going to use a yogurt tub, but you can use plastic nursery pot or a piece of PVC tubing, whatever you have on hand. Since the wood has like a mishmash of colors, I just gave a really light coat of white spray paint, just because it's the only kind we had. And it is ready for food scraps. I just put in little peelings in there, sometimes a sprinkle of dirt, a little bit of water. We are good to go. As you all know, you can try and compromise, you can try and keep them out, but they will often find a way around it. I tried to give them plenty of welcoming places to nap throughout the garden. These are acceptable sleeping spots. then there are places I'd rather they not lay down their chubby little bodies. But try as I might, there's no changing their habits, and you just gotta go with it and laugh. Well, that's about all the advice I've got for this episode. Try and stay patient, forgiving, and sane as best you can with these knuckleheads. Till next time.